Hello everyone, welcome back. This week we're going to be working on the clockwork method. It's a really amazing method you can use on Illustrator if you want a nice, beautiful vector with no sharp edges, where your anchor points sit. So I'm going to show you some examples. So this is a bad vector. Okay, so a bad vector would be something that looks a little wobbly. You can still tell there's some where you can tell where the anchor point sits. If you can tell where the anchor point sits, um, you're going to have some issues with your shapes. They have to be smooth as possible. And you, like right here, you can already tell there's an anchor point here. Um, and nothing looks straight, nothing looks even. But again, this is very passable. You know, it does depend on the style you want to use. Okay, and this is a good vector, a very good vector. So notice how everything sits evenly. The handlebars are not turned and twisted. So let's go back. So here you can tell that the handlebars are not sitting very evenly on top of where the anchor point sits. Nothing's parallel. Some things are a little bit bent. It has a lot of anchor points. I think this has too many anchor points. Remember, if you're having issues with having a clean shape or line, you might have too many anchor points. You might be having the handlebars sit in a very strange way. So just keep things as straight as possible. Like this one, look, everything is running parallel. There's not that many anchor points. Let's go back. See, like this feels a little bit messy. This one feels a little cleaner. It could use without a few anchor points here and there, honestly, but it looks good. Look at where the lines sit, your handlebars are sitting. There's nothing bent unless if it's like in a corner. Okay, so, and then we're gonna go to, here's the, not ugly per se, we could just say it's kind of a beginner type of anchor point. And I'm gonna zoom in a little bit closer to this one. So you can tell that the handlebars are bent here, especially. You can tell right away where the anchor point sits. I can spot it very quickly where the anchor points are sitting. So if you can do that, that means that you need more practice. Right here, right here. So again, keep things as straight as possible. Let me go ahead and jump back to the good vector. So yeah, just have a good look. I'm going to be having, I'm going to put these JPEGs right in your module. So you can just have a look and use them as a reference. And again, if you don't get them right away, that's completely fine. You can, it takes practice. It does take a lot of practice. Don't feel discouraged. This is a beginning class, so I don't expect everybody to get perfect handlebars or anchor points right away. Okay, so let's jump into the clockwork method. Okay, so I have a good example of how the clockwork method should work. And let me just zoom in a little bit more. There you go. Okay, so the clockwork method is pretty simple. It's you place an anchor point wherever your clock sits. So let's look at this one, for example. I put a clock. You can use an imaginary clock or you can use one as a reference. You can create one on your own. That's completely fine. So wherever there's the highest point, or let's say the epicenter of a point, you're going to put an anchor point. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drag down. Okay, so over here, you're going to put an anchor point right here at the very center of this hill, and then you're also going to put one right in the center of this valley. You're going to put one right here at the very beginning of a sharp point too. So finding out where you're going to place your anchor points is extremely helpful. It makes your lines a lot smoother, and it's a good practice to have. It's a really good practice to have. And sometimes I have to go ahead and keep practicing, and I use this method. I even use the similar JPEGs that I put into your assignments just to practice, because again, it's not too hard, but again, some people tend to overdo it with anchor points, and sometimes you need a reminder on not placing them everywhere you feel like anywhere actually. So anywhere you feel like it, that's not a good way to set up your anchor points. So you kind of have to be strategic about it. Okay. All right. And then so let me show you, for example, I'm gonna go ahead and delete these ones. So where we're gonna put our anchor points. So I'm gonna put one right here, right here. So this is gonna be the 9 o'clock. This is gonna be 12 o'clock. This is gonna be 3 o'clock. And I'm gonna place one right here at this is going to be 3 o'clock. No, this is 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. If you want to go upside down, that's going to be 12 o'clock. This is going to be 3 o'clock. You don't have to put one at 6 o'clock, and they can put one at 9 o'clock. I'm going to give those back. So this would be 9 o'clock, and this is going to be 12 o'clock, and this is going to be 3 o'clock. The issue with the clockwork is sometimes you might have to adjust depending on how curvy an item is. Sometimes you might have to add an anchor point. Sometimes you might have to shift things around. It's not going to be exact, but it's going to be, you know, very helpful, and it's going to help you with your accuracy. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to this assignment right here. So this file, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, and let's lock this. So I'm going to go Object, Lock, and Selection. Okay. And I'm not going to use the guidelines because I want to show you how you can visualize it also. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just go straight to your pen tool. We're not going to do the curvature tool. We're going to do the pen tool. And make sure your fill is on none. So you see that little diagonal line right there. That means that it should be empty. This should be on black. Or you can choose a more bright color. So I tend to go for magenta sometimes. Let's go ahead and, oops, there you go. Pressing on the wrong one. There you go. So I'm going to go ahead and press on CMYK. And I think I'm going to go for a brighter color. You can either go with dark blue, whatever color is easier for you to see. You can use black still. It really doesn't matter as long as you have your curves and your anchor placed correctly, or as correctly as possible. Okay, so remember, we always start at a corner. If you don't have a corner, you can basically, let's say if you don't have this section right here, you're free to choose at an epicenter, or just don't do it anywhere. Do it at one of the, either at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, or at 9 o'clock. So you got to pick one of these epicenters right here, or the highest points or the lowest point. So I would have start here or here, but since we have these corners, we're going to start straight away with the corner. Okay, and I can already tell there's going to be a high point here, so I'm going to click and drag my handlebar, okay, and then I'm going to click here and then drag. You don't have to adjust right away. You can just place your anchor points and then adjust later, but I rather just do that now. So see, this one is not coming out perfectly. So when that happens, you can either just let it go, keep placing your anchor points, and then going back and then adjust it later. That's what I'm going to do. I'm mostly going to worry about my anchor point placement, and then I'm going to adjust the curves. Let's see. So yeah, I can tell. And then if you need to have your line completely vertical or horizontal, remember to press Shift and you're able to have a completely vertical line. You don't have to worry about adjusting that later. So I'm going to go ahead and press Shift. I might have to. There you go. This helps a lot. So remember 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. It doesn't have to be right at 12 o'clock, but it can be as close as possible. Again, you could always adjust it later. And this one, I'm going to go a little bit. And if you want, what really helps me is just going straight across from the other anchor point. There you go. And it's okay if your handlebars are diagonal. Okay, this one is going to be a little bit tricky, but I'm going to go ahead and place it right here. I'm going to press Shift. This one doesn't need too much adjusting, so this one's okay. I'm going to make it pretty small. Okay, now I'm going to find the valley, the very bottom of the valley. And this is going to be 12 o'clock, and this is going to be 3 o'clock. So I guess we can put it as close as possible, like as possible. Yeah, close as possible. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect straight away. Okay, so this is 12 o'clock. And then I'm going to go ahead and create another 12 o'clock here. So just pretend there's a circle here at the epicenter. And this one's going to be a little tricky. A little bit more. And we're almost there. We're almost there. Okay, here you go. All right, and then we closed the shape completely. Now we're going to go ahead and adjust them. Okay, adjusting is pretty easy. Remember, you're going to have to select the direct selection tool. Don't confuse these two. Remember, this one's good for selecting items and shapes. This one's good for selecting anchor points and adjusting them. And then this one is good for adjusting handlebars, the anchor point tool, and corners. But again, I prefer the direct select tool. That one's going to be the main tool you're going to be working with anytime you do line. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let's adjust one of these. Sometimes you might have to get rid of some anchor points, sometimes you won't. Okay, so I'm going to grab one of the handlebars right here. I'm just going to click on one and then drag it towards the center. And this looks completely fine. This one, to activate this handlebar, I'm just going to select either the path or the anchor point. So when you select the anchor point, you're going to activate both handlebars. If you select a path, you're going to, let's see, you're going to select the one that's on the top or towards the direction of your path. But I'm going to select the anchor point completely just so I can see what this one's doing also. Again, you don't have to do that, but it really does help. Okay, so I'm going to stretch this one and I'm going to go straight. So I'm going to press Shift. There you go. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and move this one actually. This one's going to be a little bit lower. So again, you select your anchor point. I'm going to show you again. Click and then drag down. All right, and then you could always adjust your handlebar. Okay, this one's going to be a little odd. I'm going to stretch this one out a little bit, or I might get rid of it. It feels like it's not doing me any favors. Okay. Yeah, if you feel like there's too many anchor points, I'm going to get rid of this and see what happens. So when you get rid of one, you're going to have to stretch out and compensate with the anchor points across from the path, but it's also going to manipulate whatever's happening on the other side or anything on the bottom. So you got to be really careful on how that adjusts. So I think we did need the anchor point. So I'm going to go ahead and press Control Z and bring that anchor point back. Okay. And then I'm going to have to adjust this by pressing Shift. Again, it does take practice. So if you feel a little discouraged, don't feel discouraged. It's okay. These curves are very tricky. There you go. So that looks really good. And this one, I'm gonna have to change it. So I'm gonna turn it a little bit and adjust it. That way, this one, I might leave it by itself. It really does depend on how this one interacts with this one. So this anchor point's gonna be moved. I'm gonna move this one a little bit more. And this one I might have to get rid of. So remember, to get rid of an anchor point, you can always select this delete anchor point tool. If you cannot find it here, you can always find it in edit toolbar. Click on this one and then drag it into your toolbar. So we've practiced that before, but again, it's just a good reminder. Or you can always press on the minus sign on your keyboard and it should pop up. So for example, I'm going to press minus sign and then I'm going to click. Okay. And let's get rid of it. It looks a lot smoother already. So yeah, we didn't really need that anchor point. Okay, so let's move on to and I find this really relaxing. I don't know, I love Illustrator because it can be really relaxing to me. Um, and I love how the lines look, very smooth. Okay, this one's going to be interesting. So let's try and manipulate them a little bit more. Okay, so we added a little curve right here. And if you're not sure how your anchor point's turning out or your path is turning out, so you can always select it and boost your stroke, the stroke size up to 3 points. It's a lot easier. You can change the coloring if you need to. So I'm going to go ahead and change the color. Okay, let's do blue or red or black. Let's go ahead and I think a dark purple would be okay. Yes. So whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay. So, and also you are able to access your JPEG in the modules, so you're able to get rid of it by organizing your layers. Since I have my line path and the JPEG in the same layer, I'm just going to go ahead and select it, edit, cut, and then add a new layer. Make sure you select it and then edit, paste. So if you want to make it visible and invisible again, feel free to do that, and then go to paste in place, just to place it exactly where it was before, and you're going to be able to see how it looks like without the JPEG. So this is a really good way to see if your anchor points are a little wobbly. So here you go. I can tell that this needs some adjusting really quickly, and yes. Okay, so it's a lot easier for me to see where my anchor points need adjusting. If you have something in the way, this kind of makes it hard for me to see how, how the anchor points look or how your path looks. So it's always good to just to have this in a layer and then also make it invisible. So you get to toggle it here. And again, I'm going to have the JPEGs ready for you on the modules. They're not going to be there. You have to download the JPEGs, and then you also have to set it up in a new file that you created on Illustrator on your own computer. So I'm not going to have an AI file for you guys to download. You guys have to set it up. Okay. And you should already know how. And we'll adjust this one later. We can always go back. So that's the beautiful thing of Illustrator. About Illustrator, anytime you make a mistake, you can fix it really easily. Digital art in general is amazing because you get to fix your mistakes. You can Control Z. traditional art is also very beautiful because you can't, sometimes you can. It really does depend on what you're working with, what media you're working with. But it's harder for you to fix any mistakes. And I think that makes it really amazing and beautiful. So, you know, every medium has a very special quality about them, or there you go. Yeah, digital art for me is very relaxing. I love it so much. There you go. Okay, and then I'm adjusting. And again, they don't have to be completely parallel, like kind of like you saw in the one of the vector examples, but it does really help with paths that are not cooperating. So this one might have to go horizontal. Yeah, looks a lot nicer. Okay, and this looks good. I'm not too happy about this one. Maybe pressing shift on this one and moving it up. There you go. And let's have a look at how our anchor points are sitting. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, but if you can get it as close to perfect as possible, that's completely fine. Okay, let's fix some of the jumbly bits, some of the wobbly bits right here. Okay. So when that happens, you might have to stretch your handlebars out a little bit more, so that tends to smooth out your paths. Or you might have to toggle, or not toggle, you need to rotate your handlebars like as close as horizontal, as close as possible to a horizontal state or vertical state. It really does depend on how you have your handlebars sit on the anchor point. I like to see it as a teeter-totter. So for example, this one might need to sit right on top of this anchor point, but I think it was fine. Yes. And let's see, for this one, I think this is fine. So it's sitting right on top of the anchor point completely, so it's not going in any random direction like this. So if you do have it sit in an awkward position, again, it can be set on the anchor point, kind of like a teeter-totter, but you know, very evenly, or like a scale. You can pretend it's a scale. So if one side is a little bit heavier than the other side, then things are going to look a little bit off. If you have your weight set evenly on each side, so you have your weight here and your weight here, and they're both equal weights, it's going to look very even and straight. There you go. So you can try and mess with that a little bit more. Okay, it looks a lot better, a lot better. Okay, and this took me a while to get the hang of, but once you do, it becomes easier every time you work with it. Okay, this one I'm not happy with. It's not that smooth. Okay, and let's say if you have a lot of anchor points, for example, and it's not looking as smooth as you want it to be. So I have a good amount. I think I did a really good job with not overusing anchor points. But let's say you want, I don't know, you went a little crazy with your anchor points. And let's place them every random way. Like, okay, the more anchor points you use while you're working on something, it's not going to look too smooth. Since my path's already smooth, you're not going to be able to tell, you know, that my anchor points are messing with my path. So let's get rid of this. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and accidentally, let's redo move. It bugs me when things are not as smooth as I want it to be. Okay, redo. Okay, I think we're good here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of this, pressing Alt and shifting it to the side. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and this one, bring back our old friend here. And I'm going to show you what happens when you add a bunch of anchor points. I think that would be a better, if I start straight away, I think that would be a lot better for you guys to see and understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm just going to add some anchor points wherever I want. So I'm not even considering the clockwork method. I'm just going to go crazy and not worry about my anchor points. How many? So yes, this might happen. And some people might want add one here. Some people might add one here. I'm not doing too bad. It's because I have the clockwork method stuck in my head. You know, when you have all that practice, it's hard to make it look bad on purpose. But I think I did pretty good job with this one, making it look bad. Okay. Okay, let's add one here. Just add a random one. Some people tend to do like little paths right here with their anchor points, and we're going to close. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and see how it looks like. You can already tell there's some issues with your anchor points causing issues with tangencies with your anchor points. Things. This one doesn't even have a handlebar, and then this one, it looks a little bent. It's not even. There's ways to fix that if you have too many anchor points. Okay, what we can do is, I don't recommend it, but I'm going to show you guys anyways. I'm going to go to the paintbrush tool on your toolbar and then go to the smooth tool. And this is only for emergencies or last resort, or if you can't handle certain things. And I'm going to warn you, this is going to add anchor points to your path. It might take away some. You're not going to know exactly what it's going to do. It's kind of unpredictable. So this is why I'm not recommending it. You know, I want you guys to use the clockwork method first. And again, this is a last resort type of thing. So you have your smooth tool selected, and then you're going to go to wherever you feel you need to smooth things out. I'm going to go ahead and get as close as possible to the path. It doesn't really have to be right on top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and smooth it out. There you go. And it added some anchor points. As long, okay, let's see. You don't have to follow the path exactly, but you still have to somehow cross the path. So just keep that in mind. There you go. So you can see I'm smoothing it out. It took some away. Yeah, I'm not really happy with how many anchor points there are, but you can always get rid of them and adjust it. This one added one. Yeah, it still looks a little weird. You're gonna have to go multiple times with the smooth tool. Yeah, and also it does change the shape, so I don't want this to be too rounded, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just use this one. And it's still, you can't really tell what's gonna happen with the smooth tool. It's really nice though. I mean, again, it is a last resort type of tool because you don't have a lot of control. You can't tell how many anchor points are going to be added. And remember, the more anchor points you're going to have in a path, the more problems you're going to run into in the future. So just keep that in mind. Okay, smooth it out. And also, it's going to change your path line. Very unpredictable. again, it's a tool that's like, if you again have a lot of practice with Illustrator and creating paths and lines, I think you're more confident in using it. But even then, it's like, I'd rather not use it too many times. Okay, and then I might have to see how that looks now. Okay. All right. It looks a little bit better. It's not as smooth as what I created earlier. So you can tell that there's some, let's make this a little bit smaller so you can see in the artboard. I'm going to press shift and shrink it down. So even this is the line that I created with the anchor point, and this is the one that I created with the smooth tool and just by adding random anchor points. So you can tell the difference still. So again, try using the Clockwork Method. It looks way smoother, you know, and it's going to take me longer to adjust this to make it this smooth. If you can't tell, I can tell. But you know, if you can't tell, that's okay. But still, I can really tell which one's the smoothest one. This one's going to be a lot smoother than this one. This one's going to be a lot harder to adjust in your paths. So just keep it as simple as possible. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and work on a different shape right here. And we're going to do the Clockwork Method for this one. Again, you have to download and upload it to your Adobe Illustrator file. And don't forget to save. I'm not going to save, but because I don't need to, but you guys do have to save. So don't forget to save your art piece or whatever you're working on every 15 minutes, every 5 minutes or so. So whatever you're comfortable with, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lock this. So object, lock, selection. Okay, and this is going to be a long video. If you want to create a new layer, just add a new layer and then work on that one. You could always lock the layer here, but I already have the JPEG lock, so I don't need to. So it really does depend. And make sure you go to properties and make sure your stroke is any color you want. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit darker. And honestly, I think I'm going to go back and lower the opacity on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock. So object, unlock all. Let's lower the opacity on the property section right here. And then we're going to go to opacity. I know you guys already know how to do that, but it's always good to go back on you know, old techniques, old tools. All right, so we're going to go to object, lock, and selection. It's going to make things a lot easier for me to place my anchor points and to see the line placement. Okay. And here you can start wherever you want. I think you can start any point here, here, here. It doesn't really matter because it doesn't have a flat point. I'm going to start right here. This looks a little complicated, but I feel like it's one of the easier ones. Okay, so we're going to start here. Oh, and oh, there you go. This is going to actually make it really difficult because my layers is the same color as my guide. So you got to be really careful with that. I'm going to go ahead and create a new one and get rid of this one or not use it. So make sure it's a different color. Black would be okay. I can see. There you go. It's a lot easier for me to see that. Okay, so actually I'm going to go ahead and start here, and then I'm going to go and move the anchor point here. And then what you're going to need to do is press Alt and have your pen tool hover on top of your anchor point. Press Alt on your keyboard or Alt or Option and click. And that's going to get rid of one of your handlebars. So we did practice this in, I think, lines part 1. You're going to use it again. And then, yeah, there's a reason for that. Okay, now we have a clock right here. That's really easy. So this is going to be 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. No, it's 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. Okay, there you go. And let's go ahead and create. Oh, and my lines are not turned on. I think that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and press escape, or yeah, let's press escape, go to properties, and fill this in. Yes, perfect. And if you want to continue, always hover. Make sure your pen tool looks like this. It has a little asterisk on your pen tool, and then hover on your anchor point, and then you're going to see that little line. That means it's going to continue on. And you can always click in your anchor point and stretch out to create a new handlebar, because sometimes that does disappear when you deselect. So I'm going to show you again. I'm going to click and drag out, and you should be okay. All right, so this is going to be a little tricky. I think I'm just going to go straight to 12 o'clock. You can skip. You can skip time. That's completely fine. I think I'm going to go straight here. The epicenter is actually right there, so I think I just placed it randomly. So I'm going to find the very bottom of that hill. Okay, and then this is going to be a hill, but I'm going to skip that. Remember, the less anchor points, the better. And I'm going to go straight to the top and press shift because I want this to be as vertical as possible, the handlebars. And you can always adjust. Let's just adjust it right now by going to the direct select tool. Sometimes I like to adjust while I'm working, like while I'm setting things up, so I don't have to go back and adjust it like we did before. I like to adjust on the go, but it really does depend on my mood. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select the pen tool, and again, you can click and drag out your handlebar. And I feel like this one is easier than the last one because you have some edges, and then you can see where the where 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and not the clock is going to be. It's all easier for you to visualize when you have more curves and shapes and sharp points. And I think I'm going to go to the very bottom of here. Here's the epicenter. And I might have to, yes, let's press shift to make this completely vertical, and I'm going to press shift to make this horizontal. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and press shift. And this one's going to be a little bit tricky because I can't see what's happening on the very top since my screen is a little small. But that's okay. We can always adjust this later. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and click, go to the very center, or not to the very center, go to the very top of your anchor point and press Alt or Option on your keyboard, click, and now you have a corner. And you might run into an issue when your corner might look flat. If that happens, I'm going to make something like that happen, and then I'm going to show you how to fix it, because that does happen sometimes depending on how straight your lines are, or how your handlebars are going to sit. Actually, let's undo this one. I think I should have put it here. Yes. Okay, I'm going to press Alt. Okay, it might happen here. I have a feeling. No, it didn't happen there. It's going to have a flat top. Eventually, you're going to run into that problem. Okay, so we're going to have one at, let's call it 3 o'clock. And this is going to be 12 o'clock. And this is going to be 9 o'clock. And here, we're going to go ahead and create a curve. And I'm going to go to the very top here. Okay, good. Points looking good. And I'm going to go to the very bottom, this one. And I'm going to go ahead and press shift to have, oh, there you go. There you go. Okay, shift, make this vertical, make this horizontal, just a little bit, just to have some handlebars. And I think I'm going to go ahead and not add one here because I want this to be as smooth as possible. Okay, and press Alt on your keyboard or Option and click. And I'm going to go to the very epicenter of this one. Okay, and I see it right here. I think I see it. So we're going to go back to yes. Okay, so here you go. So it's going to have a flat top. This is going to be an issue. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and select. Make sure you have your pen tool selected. And oh, it doesn't want to. Okay, so let's press Shift. And immediately you're going to have your, let's see, let's this tool again. So it's going to be called Anchor Point Tool. And it's going to create some handlebars. So if it looks a little sharp like this, that means that there's no anchor point, there's no handlebars. So what you're going to do is click and then drag out. And it's going to give you like a little dome, but that's completely fine. All right, and then you're going to go ahead and go to the pen tool and select Anchor Point Tool, and you can adjust it manually. So you can click on a handlebar and adjust it. Again, you can select the path where the anchor point sits on the other side, or where the next anchor point is going to be sitting. And then I'm going to select this one and stretch it out a little bit more, so I can have a point instead of a flat top. So that's a good way to fix it, because it does happen. It does. Okay, I'm going to go press P to select my pen tool, and I'm going to go ahead and create a path, continue the path. Then I'm going to adjust this later, press Alt or Option, press right on the anchor point, and let's find the clock here. So the clock should be around here. It's going to look a little weird, but that's okay. So it looks like I'm in the adjust later mood. I think that works better, in my opinion. Sometimes if I'm adjusting things while I'm going, I feel like I'm wasting my time a little bit more. And I get to work faster if I'm just setting up my anchor points and bringing out my handlebars. But that's just me, you know. And I'm going to close. Okay, so let's adjust by pressing A on your keyboard to get your direct select tool selected, or you can just go to your toolbar and select this. Let's click on your path just so we can see your anchor points, and we're going to start adjusting again. Yeah, this lesson is pretty long, but I feel it's necessary. Okay, and then we get to adjust the anchor points like we did before, and we might have to zoom out a little bit more because I need to see there. And notice how you notice the curve path again. This does help a little bit, but just keep in mind I want to keep these as straight as possible. I'm going to press Shift. There you go. Just to keep this very straight. And this is going to be a problem. So let's zoom in. Okay, this is where we're going to need our good friend, the anchor point tool. Okay, so I'm going to select it, and right away it's going to reset without any handlebars. I think it didn't need handlebars. There you go. So if you could get rid of them really easy. All right, direct select tool. And I'm going to stretch it out a little bit more. Okay, so there you go. This one's going to be interesting. Okay, yeah, maybe not. I don't like how that point looks. Okay, this one, I think this one's a little too long, so again, it just takes some time to figure out what needs to be adjusted. Okay, and this one needs to be stretched out. Or maybe, yes, tilted. I think that might work. I could tilt it a little bit. There, I think it looks a lot better. And this one doesn't require any handlebars. And this one's okay. This one's going to be the one that is going to change that curve. There. And it doesn't have to sit right exactly on top of your line, but just try to get it as close as possible to your path or the sketch line that I gave you. Okay, this one, yes, I don't like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust it. I'm going to press shift. And I might have to move the anchor point a little to the side, yes. Sometimes you might have to shift the entire anchor point a little bit to the side or just to see where it sits a lot better. And this one I'm going to move to the top. So yeah, you can move your anchor points. That's completely fine. This one I'm not too happy with. I might have to get rid of it, but I don't want to create longer handlebars because that can also cause issues. And remember, if you're having issues with things looking straight, just try to keep it as parallel to the path as possible. Kind of remember the teeter-totter or the scale. You can do that too. That analogy, I don't know if it works, but you know, it works for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and click, and I straightened this one out by pressing shift. Okay, this one's all right. It's not too bad. I might have to shift certain things here and there. Okay, this one is obviously yes. Okay, this one needs fixing. Okay, and if you need a visual, like, so you can already see the handlebar sticking out. Again, if you don't see it, just select your path. This one, I'm like, we'll see, we'll see, we'll see. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and travel. I think I might have to press shift with this one. Let's have a look. Sometimes it's good to take a few steps back because I like to get close, but sometimes I need to remind myself to step back a little bit more. Okay, go, and then this one looks a little odd. I think I might have to shift this one a little bit more and give it a nice, there you go. That's a nice curve. So again, I kept the line as close to the path as possible, so it's not going in different directions from the path. That really helps a lot. This one, I feel it needs a little bit more curve here. Okay, good, good. And already adjusted this one. This one needs some curves. I might have to shift some. This one's gonna have to be a little tricky, so let's have a. Okay, there you go. It takes some adjusting, and I highly recommend to start this exercise or assignment as soon as possible because you're going to need that practice, especially for your line project, and you need to spend some time on adjusting anchor points because this needs practice. You need a lot of practice to get to this. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so I got rid of it. So yeah, it looks fine. I can straighten this one out a little bit more. And yes, I feel like this is getting out of the way. I might have to delete it. So let's delete it. And let's give it a curve right here. Okay, you can do that too. You can delete an anchor point and then have it smooth, so it looks a lot smoother, I feel. If you can't, for some reason, get that to happen, you can always use the smooth tool. I think it looks a little bit smoother, not quite there. There, I think that looks a little bit better. Again, I might have to go back to adjust it a little bit more. I'm not happy with it entirely because it looks a little strange. Actually, I am going to go use the smooth tool and see how that works out. Yeah, it looks a little bit better now. So remember, select it and then just glide on top of your path. So let's go for here. There you go. It just smooths it out a little bit more. I don't like how many anchor points it adds, usually. It doesn't make me happy. There you go. Okay. Again, so that's a last resort type of thing. But yeah, so spend some time working on this project. It's completely worth it. I want you guys to work on both. So work on this image right here. So let me go ahead and bring out this. So work on this one and also work on this one right here. So you need to work on both. And do your very best. Again, try to use the clockwork method as much as possible. Sometimes you might have to adjust some of the anchor points. It doesn't have to sit exactly how the clockwork method works or sits, in your curves or any of these shapes. You're going to have to figure that out on your own. But again, if you run into any issues, please let me know. I'm going to have volunteer days for you guys, and please keep an eye out for those on the announcements. If I don't announce it, it's likely that I'm not going to have it, or just let me know if you need one. Yes, so yeah, work on both of these images. They're going to be in your modules. You can download them and then upload them in your Adobe Illustrator file. There's not going to be a file for you guys to download that's an AI file. You're going to have to create it on your own. Don't forget to name it. It's going to, all the details are going to be in your assignment detail page. And again, yeah, if you have any questions, please email me at cammym@mail.fresnostate.edu. If that's a little too difficult, you can always email me cammysmc@gmail.com, or the fastest and easiest way is through remind.com. And yes, when you need help, please be as detailed as possible, or send me any JPEGs of your issues so I'm able to help you without a conference. Okay, and that's it. Thank you guys for joining me today. I know this is a long lesson, but it's worth it. And yes, good luck, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, bye.